We are going to talk some ball with Tom Vanderford about Ole Miss and fall camp next on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. Today, we bring in Tom Vanderford to talk about fall camp and get his thoughts. The mayor of Corinth is coming up next. Thanks for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and please listen to us, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment, of course, on your way out. It costs absolutely nothing. Helps us out, though. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, let's go live. Well, not live. Let's go to Tom Vanderford about the camp coming up. Tommy, it is really interesting. One of the revelations of camp this year has been the performance of Ricky Fletcher. It's completely taking the pressure off of Pete Golding in regards to Jaylon Braxton. Ricky Fletcher is kind of the name to know and the one that we've spent all weekend talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Isn't it wonderful? I love it when something that we haven't thought of happens, especially, we need depth in that position. So that's a wonderful thing. Yeah. So next man up, right?
Right. Yeah. You don't move a cornerback to safety like they did with Jaylon Braxton unless you have a cornerback. A cornerback is very important if you are going to have something on the side of the field. If you don't have a cornerback and you don't have a safety, I mean, you're pretty screwed. But if you just have one, Jaylon Braxton would have stayed at cornerback. The fact that Ricky Fletcher has performed allowed them to make the changes on the back end of the defense. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to make the defense perform a little bit better.
Oh, I think so too. Braxton was a really good corner, and he's coming back from injury, and I think it'll be very helpful for us to have him at safety.
Yeah, and the other safeties that are getting some work, you're hearing the name Kapena Gushiken. I think that's how you pronounce it, but if not, I apologize. You're Wydett Williams. You're hearing that name a little bit. Sage Ryan is coming around as well. There's 3 spots in that defense that are eventually going to be taken up. And I think Wydett Williams is going to get one of those 3 spots. Every time you hear a practice report, he is on it. Sage Ryan, you don't necessarily hear him working with the starters, whether there's something going on, they haven't quite found the right fit, a nagging injury, I'm not 100% sure. But Gushiken, even though he is listed at 6 foot, he might be a little bit below that, and they are concerned about the length in the secondary. Gushiken is pretty consistently named in the early part of this fall camp.
Yeah, and that's the kid from Washington State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just really looking forward to actually seeing these kids play, less than a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be awesome. But yeah, we have a lot of depth. It's just unproven at Ole Miss depth in the defensive backfield, and that's why I'm really excited about watching them perform against Georgia State.
Yeah, one thing that I'm interested about is, and you see this when you play the transfer portal slot machine on players and you do these large classes like this, is which one do you think is going to turn out? Which one is going to kind of be a bust? Like Traylon Ray, who came in from West Virginia. He was on the podium on Friday's podcast. The rumors that I've heard out of fall camp is Isaiah Hartrup is kind of above him right now.
Yeah.
And he's trying to fight that battle. Traylon Ray was a guy that caught a lot of passes at West Virginia. He had performed at the Power 4 level. He has a big fall camp in front of him because if he doesn't perform, he absolutely will not sit on the field. He has the chance to be this year's Rashad Amos as somebody that you expected to have a very big year that kind of sits to the background. I heard rumors that Ray is taking kickoffs. He might be the kickoff return guy. There's a lot of stuff going on, but when you play the slot machine, that is the transfer portal, this kind of stuff just happens.
Well, right, and that's why the money ball comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking chances, but you're not putting all your eggs in one basket like some schools do. So the fact that we've got the depth, and there'll be some kids that are left out. There'll be some kids that transfer. It's just part of it. But I think having enough people to make a good decision and to have lots of competition, that's a good thing. And I think that's why they do what they do.
When we come back, we will talk to Tom about physicality and the offensive line. That is a big story in the fall camp. We will talk about that next. But first, I do want to let you know, when I am on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day, that's not always so easy. That is why I've been loving me some Drip Drop, especially in this heat down in Florida. Drip Drop is doctor developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drink. My go-to flavor is orange. Hey, I live in Florida, right? It should be orange. It's a game changer after my daily walk in the intense Florida sunshine, and it helps keep me feeling great. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. That's 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before this heat hits hard. Well, harder. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping online. That is where Game Time comes in. They make getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices usually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. There are no hidden fees, and if you're worried about what happens if plans change, the Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and even more. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Tommy, really interesting stuff coming up because there are 2 positions that everybody going into this fall camp is going to pay attention to. One is going to be the defensive backfield, and we've talked about that almost ad nauseum ever since they first started practicing. The other is the offensive line, and Delano Townsend was on the podium Friday. He is somebody that is known for physicality. He is a user of the college game as a minor league system to work himself up to the SEC level. And Tom, he has a real chance to start in his first year in the SEC.
Isn't that awesome? I can't wait. I want to see an extremely physical offensive line. I think, last year, I think we're a little bit too heavy. And we've got to fire off that ball. We've got to open some holes. We got to have the running game do better than it did last year. And that'll just help Austin Simmons all the way around.
Yes, it absolutely would. Last year, you had the big names on Ole Miss's roster. You had a kinder, gentler fall camp this year. And because of that, potentially, The running game was the worst that it has been under Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. They had trouble running the football. Even against Kentucky, they could not make it work, even with a lot of the same pieces that they had in previous years. I think this year, Lane Kiffin is doing a smart thing by setting the tone early as far as physicality goes. Today, they were in shoulder pads, or not today, earlier Friday, they were in shoulder pads, and it was a little bit more of a physical type practice. I think that physicality is a very big thing, and if Ole Miss makes a run to the college football playoff or 9 to 10 wins or something like that, it is going to be physicality in camp that makes that happen.
I completely agree. Anybody that watched last year was a little bit disappointed in our running game. And after Parrish got hurt, it was pretty much non-existent for the most part. And I think that we're going to see a huge jump this year just because, you know, where we went and what we did. We got some really good tackles. You know, we've got some good guards. We got some, you know, Kutas may move to guard, right? That would be awesome. And, you know, we got Bryson Sanders. He's been our center in waiting for, 3 years?
Yes.
So everything's positive.
Yeah, it's one of those situations to whenever this gets going, and heck, we're probably 2 practices away from a full pads practice or their ability to have a full pads practice. The physicality is going to ramp up, but it's a balancing act. You have to get ready for the season when it comes to contact.
Yes.
The G5 games will not prepare you for what you're going to see. We saw that a year ago against Kentucky.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we were killing everybody, and then we got to play our first SEC team, and you know, they out physicaled us on the line.
Yeah. And it was something that absolutely should not have happened, but it did. And Lane Kiffin is going to raise the balancing act a little bit this season, trying to find a blue-collar mindset on these players coming in. But the practices are going to get a little bit more physical. It's going to get a little bit tougher, and they're going to try and play that balancing act with physical fall practice, risk of injuries. College football coaches are some of the most risk-averse people on the entire planet. This is going to be a slow build to see what you can potentially get away from. But the fact of the matter is, you have to block, you have to tackle, and you have to practice doing it, or you're not going to do it well.
Exactly. You know, all the thud stuff we did last year, that needs to be brought down to a minimum. If people get nicked up, and you know, there's plenty of time for them to heal through the first part of the schedule. So you're danged if you do and danged if you don't. But last year showed us we've got to be more physical in fall practice.
You know, what part of fall camp, what was the question that came from the first week that's now elevated in your mind? What do you want to know about this Ole Miss team after a week of practice?
Just if the defensive secondary is going to continue to gel. I want to see, you know, more of our new tight end who was a receiver. Caleb Odom, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my brain don't work half the time anymore. I apologize. But, you know, I was glad to see he was willing to move down in there when Haas, you know, was injured. I just, you know, I want to see smash mouth football on the offensive line and the defensive line. I want those guys to go after each other. You know, all those great Alabama football teams that Nick Saban had. Mm-hmm. He had massive, wonderful offensive lines and dang good defensive lines, and they practiced every day against each other, and it just made them better and better and better. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, and let's see, I guess it was Friday's podcast that I did. Austin Simmons let it slip in an interview with Brad Logan about the offensive line is learning almost a completely brand new offense or a totally new offense or something like that. Lane Kiffin changes offense. It's not news that Ole Miss is going to look a little different in the fall. That's not news. The thing is getting what we want to see. What changes do we want? If we're speculating, we might as well speculate on this. I'm in the mood to see less RPOs.
Yep.
I want to see more 12 personnel.
Yep.
And I want to see them slow it down from time to time because they're good enough to play slower.
I agree with everything you just said. There's no doubt in my mind Simmons can run the ball. But why?
Yeah.
Why? You've got the running backs. You can go to 12 personnel, like you said. It's not needed as much as it has been needed in the past.
Yeah, Austin Simmons is not Jackson Dart.
Exactly. Nor is
he shouldn't try to be Jackson Dart.
Right.
With Jackson breaking all the records at Ole Miss and doing all that, it would be tempting to do that. But Austin's a different quarterback and in certain areas a better quarterback. And I think people will see the processing ability and the input of the West Coast passing game, because that was my thing on Friday's show, is I wanted to see a little bit more of Lane Kiffin going back to his USC roots. Back in the early 2000s and a little bit of West Coast stuff with his matchup passing game. I think Austin Simmons is perfect for that.
I do too. I think Austin Simmons is more of a polished, cerebral guy. It's like my buddy in Connecticut said, he's wicked smart, and I'm looking forward to just watching him, man.
Yeah, he unbelievable player. The running back room, before I let you out here, is like we've heard about Kewan Lacey, who he's made an impression in the early part of fall camp. Logan Diggs in the viral picture that everybody was making jokes about that was pretty sophomoric if we're going to be real. But the real news on that one is Logan Diggs was not wearing a knee brace.
Right.
Yeah, that's the news from that picture. And then you have Shekai Mills Knight, the freshman, coming in. You have Damon Taylor. I think the running back room, much more thoughtfully put together, as I have said, and they seem to be performing at a level that are expected.
Well, like you said, maybe they're trying to get back to that Reggie Bush, Lindell White type formula that they had, and I can see, I'm not saying we have those guys, but I can see that, we've got some thunder and lightning in that backfield. Yeah.
Yeah. You do not have those guys, but you have the body types, the attributes that you can do stuff like that. And if you don't want to go back to USC and all that, let's just go back to the early part of the 2000s where you had a Jerry and Ely and a Snoop Connor. There's an example of that. Lane Kiffin obviously likes that type of thing, and they will allow those running backs to perform. Now, the one thing that I'm nervous about, and that is Traylon Ray was returning kicks. Normally, I like a running back returning kickoffs, and that is because, heck, it might have been 2006. It was Dexter McCluster's freshman year. He was returning kickoffs. The man almost died against Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Just got cleaned out.
Yep.
And ever since then, I want somebody returning kickoffs that has a little bit of size to them, that can handle what's going on. So I do like running backs over the wide receiver types returning kickoffs. That's just my opinion.
Mills Knight or somebody like that.
Yeah, or Kewan Lacey would be fantastic in that role.
Fast too now.
Yeah, he has the ability to make the explosive type plays, but if Kewan Lacey is a starting back, if he is the RB1, which we don't know if he will be by the time to start the system, by the time of start of the season, they're not going to put him back there returning kickoffs because there's no sense in doing it. That's just a rep and a lot of running that you just don't want him to do.
Right.
So anyway, Tommy, what do you got going on this weekend, buddy?
Oh, goodness. Well, Thursday night I got to watch my first pro football game of the year. Wasn't that awesome, huh?
Yeah, that was an underrated uniform game too.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty cool. I really like that Hawaiian powder blue of the Lions. I just think it's clean. looks good. But and of course, I love the Chargers and got to see Trey out there. But
Dean Leonard played well.
Yeah. Dean Leonard played a lot, and he's a Reb as well. And so I'm probably going to look and see if I can find some more NFL stuff this weekend. Other than that, just, normal stuff. Hang out with grandbabies. Do like that.
Living the dream, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining the show today, Tom. And we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Oh, thank you so much.
I cut off Tom Vanderford there, but thank you very much for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we are the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, check out Google. Just Google Ole Miss Podcast and see how much this show comes up. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is absolutely free. Your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Podcast. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to college football's landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.